Hey, we're back. We have a movie review. This time we're talking about The Devil All the Time, starring Tom Holland, and we have some great supporting actors in this film. Starting off with the man behind Nick right there, Robert Pattinson.
Legend.
Now, I'm going to reserve my thoughts actually, and I'm going to let you go first and give your initial thoughts on the
Hmm.
film.
Jeez, where to start? There's so much happening in this one film. Um, we'll do this compliment sandwich. Good stuff, bad stuff, and then we'll end with a with one last good thing. Good stuff. I enjoyed most of the cast. I think like everyone did a great job. See Tom Holland. I was really excited for Tom Holland to go in a different direction from Spider-Man, and I think he really did. That scene where, spoilers, I guess we have to say,
Yeah,
spoiler review. The scene where he like beats the hell out of like those three guys, and like just like when he confronts Robert Pattinson, I was like really like just like scared of the guy. I was like, this is a guy that is like willing to like get his hands dirty, and I was like really impressed. That, like I just believed Holland in that role, and Holland also just brought that like kind of just like humanity, like that kind of like softer side to him. Um, God, I'm trying to remember who else is in this cast. There's so many people.
so we have Bill Skarsgård from the
Okay,
beginning of the film.
Bill Skarsgård, um, Bill Skarsgård, Eliza Scanlon, and then what's her name? Haley Bennett, Skarsgård's wife. I would have liked. I thought they were fine. I think they did a good job. I just wish there was more to them, especially Eliza Scanlon. I just thought her character in particular was like really interesting, and that it's unfortunate that she died halfway through the film. Um, Skarsgård was all right. Definitely glad to see him start branching out too from like Pennywise. Let's see, gosh, Sebastian Stan was all right. I think part of him was more of the story. I didn't know why he was there, um, but I think he did all right. Particularly the scene where he's hunting Tom Holland. I actually like was um, really captivated by him there. Jason Clark and Riley, how do you pronounce that last name? Riley Q. I'm gonna say that for now. I probably
Yeah,
butchered.
go for it.
Those two, they were all right, but at the same time, like Sebastian said, I just wasn't sure why they were there. And then finally, Mr. Pattinson. Much has been made of his accent,
Yeah.
but I thought and he's also like the smallest role relatively in the film, like ish. But
Yeah.
I think he did. I think he ate up all that screen time. He like swung for the fences. And I love Robert Pattinson in general. I know you do as well, but I mean, I thought he was fine here. I hesitate to say I liked him in this film just because his character. This is like his as a person. This is his worst character. Like this character is such an ass and is such like
Yeah.
a general creep. And I was just like so uncomfortable every time he was on screen. And like it's interesting. I haven't felt that about like good like compared to Good Time. I was still like I'm like okay, I could see what this character is, but here I was like, you are an absolute ass and a complete like wacko, and I don't like you at all. But Rob, he gave him Pattinson did a great job. He so just overall the cast like lived up to it. I just wish some people got more to do and just more story to work with. Um, Stuff I wasn't sure of, like just the story. There were times when the story would like branch off and like have their like thematic like discussions or whatever. And for me, it didn't work just because sometimes it was either too on the nose, like the narration. There were moments where the narration annoyed me so much. There was at one point where like Tom Holland says something and the narration immediately follows Arvin says, and I was like, you didn't need to include that. Like he literally,
Mhm.
just said it, and like the narration worked sometimes. Other times it was just so on the nose, and some of the discussions were just written like very just like right in your face. And other times I just didn't know why things were happening. I was like, why is Jason Clark like killing people? Or like is he like why is there still kid here? Sebastian Stan had a whole corruption storyline. I don't know why that was there. And then like jeez, like Robert Pattinson like came in to like replace someone and he got like Eliza Scanlon pregnant and I was like, what's happening here? And like Tom Holland was dealing with stuff that Bill Skarsgård did. And
Yeah.
I just like that storyline in particular. I wish they did more with like Tom Holland like dealing with like what his father killed his freaking daughter. Like God, that's like that's awful. And
That's some John
um
Wick stuff.
yeah, honestly, like and like you don't see him really like you see hints of him like his like what's going on inside of him, but um like it fully breaks out when he confronts Rob Pat, but then
Mhm.
afterwards it like completely cuts out and he's just like running away. He's like meets Jason Clark and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. And so I just wasn't sure what all the pieces were just working towards like connecting. And that was just it. Like half the time throughout the story, I was either like in shock at how dark it was, or I was just like I just was not sure like why certain things were happening or why like Antonio Campos is the director. He chose to like cut back to a certain character and like then cut back, and I was like, I can't. Who is doing what and why who relates to what? And then just to end with like one last compliment, I think Campos, besides that editing thing I just mentioned, I think he did a good job just capturing the atmosphere, and I think directing wise, I think he did a good job. But talented director, talented cast, and just I wish just story just had like just came together more. I think well, it was like a 2.5 hour film, right? Something like that.
Yeah, just somewhere around that range.
Honestly, if they made it like 3.5, I would have been fine because they could have used. I feel like they could have used like 1 more hour just to like just develop things and see how things happen. But
Mhm.
I don't know, that's about it for me. That's about it.
So I have some similar thoughts, and I have a little bit of a different way I approach the film.
Mhm.
Now, what I liked about the film is I thought Tom Holland was great with what
Yeah,
he was given.
yeah, yeah.
Um, and that scene between him, his last scene with Robert Pattinson, this is a spoiler review. So the
Yeah,
scene where he kills Robert Pattinson um, is probably my favorite scene in the whole movie.
yeah.
The
I find.
chemistry they have going back and forth, just that line of Tom Holland saying, "Do you have time for a sinner?"
Mhm.
And like the way that sets the tone for that whole scene and how it escalates, that was my favorite scene in the whole movie. But the
Mhm.
problem is that's halfway through the movie.
Yeah.
Um, Talking about the beginning of the film, I think Bill Skarsgård's good. Like I
Mhm.
think what he does is very good, and with the young version of Arvin, who's
Mhm.
played by Tom Holland in the older version. But it's too long. It's 40 something minutes before the backstory ends.
Mhm.
There is, to me, there's no excuse, there's no reason why you need a 40-minute backstory to that Tom Holland's character.
Yeah.
Like to me, you could have told that story in 15 minutes and it would have been the same thing. And I felt like those first 40 minutes is where you kind of lost me as an audience member being like, this movie really, like this movie should be moving this early
Yeah.
on. Your
Like
movie should struggle with pacing in the second act because that's
yeah.
just how movies work, not in the first.
I feel like if they had maintained focus on Arvin, it could have been excusable. But then, like, they add in Jason Clark, they add in Riley Q, they add in Sebastian Stan. Oh, we forgot Henry Melling as that crazy preacher dude with the spiders. He gets thrown. He's still there too, and it's kind of like the focus just splinters after Skarsgård's part. And yeah.
Yeah. So moving on though, I think one of the things to note is that it feels like this movie was made to be like a 4-part miniseries.
Hmm.
Um, the storylines didn't feel like they were intertwined to the best, like they weren't intertwined correctly.
Hmm.
It felt like you're jumping these places you didn't know why. You didn't quite have enough time with any of those characters because it's a movie and you
Hmm.
had so many different characters and storylines that you're hopping between that it just felt like you needed more time with the characters for the story to work as a whole. Now, I think this movie is still very entertaining.
Hmm.
Uh, Once Tom Holland's on the run, I think this
Yeah.
movie picks up the pace, but it's also things don't quite feel like I don't feel for the moment between Tom Holland and Sebastian Stan.
Hmm.
I'm like, I know Tom Holland's not going to die. I just kind of like the way the story goes. I feel like I know how this is going to end, and
Right.
in no way do I feel for Sebastian Stan's character. Um, and so there those sort of things that come from not bringing out those storylines enough that really hurt the film, because in its most important moments, except for the Robert Pattinson and Tom Holland one,
Mhm.
it doesn't quite land the way I think it should.
Right.
Um, but from a directing point of view, I actually liked what Campos did. I liked the look of the film a
Yeah.
lot. Um, and as far as this is one of those movies where the script isn't quite there. It's not quite where it needs to be, and whether that's the fault of like whoever's fault that is, you don't know if it's when the movie's directed and they're cutting stuff on the editing board, or if it was how it was written itself. It's just there's something missing. I would have loved to see this as like a 4-part miniseries or 3-part miniseries,
Right.
and I think it would have helped the story be it's the best story you could possibly tell. Um, but those are kind of my overall thoughts on the film.
Yeah, I just feel like if they had more time, both I guess in the like in the conceiving of the idea stage and just in the actual with the actual story, like I think things could have been. I think things could have just felt more like connected and smooth, but it just felt like they had their pieces and they just kind of like just smashed it all together and just like they're like this seems good and just like ran with it. And I mean, some of them came together really well and just like you remember that scene where Sebastian Stan goes to like kills his employers or whatever?
Yeah,
I'm like, I don't know why this is here. I don't know what relevant. And he goes to go kill Tom Holland like right after. I'm like, you could just show him like at his office and it would have been the same, you know. I don't know, just
yeah,
like this, the focus just seemed to be like all over.
yeah. I agree. It's Sebastian Stan's character, especially, is the one who has such little character development.
Mhm.
That it's like I feel like they tell you what's going on and they show you what happens to like his sister,
Mhm.
but you don't feel for it because there's no relationship between the two except for that one small scene they have together
Yeah,
where you don't feel for Sebastian Stan and her relationship. There's no like he knows she's doing something wrong, but he still loves her, or they have some sort of like deep connection as brother and sister. It's
right.
just like no, they just happen to be brother and sister. And
Yeah.
that maybe it's that relationship that makes it so the film can't quite be up another notch.
Hmm. I don't know. There was so much just like I know Antonio Campos is like he's like a coming up. He's an up and coming like director. He was worked in indie films a lot. You have this cast, which I think we both agree like was like pretty good with what they were giving. Like the pieces were there. It just the way they were just constructed is what it came apart.
Yeah, and I know it sounds like we're trashing this film. I don't think it's a bad film at all. I think sometimes we're more critical on films that we see that are like they're decent, but we know they have that potential to be a really good movie
Yeah.
or a really good piece of filmmaking.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel like this is one of those movies. I would recommend seeing it definitely. Um, you just have to make it, at least in my opinion, you have to make it through those first 40 minutes,
Yeah.
and
Definitely.
then you should
Yeah.
enjoy the rest of the movie.
Definitely. Also, just definitely prepare for some like some brutal imagery. There is some just those 40 minutes alone. There's some wild stuff happening that I was not like expecting to like the spider scene, the dog scene. I was like, oh, okay. Like I've seen violence before, but I was like, this is really testing like my at least for me like my limits.
Hmm.
But yeah, once Tom Holland just comes on screen, things get it's a little more like easier to sit through.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I gotta wonder how many like girls crushing on Tom Holland watched this movie thinking it was gonna be Tom Holland and were like got whiplash from everything that happened.
Yeah, they may have been scarred. Now,
Yeah.
I'll go first on this, but
Mhm.
so we're going to talk about our rankings of this film in 2020 and where we have it ranked. I currently have this film at number 7. and
So,
I don't think it's going to go any higher. Sorry, number 8. I don't think it's going to go any higher than 8.
mhm.
But it's kind of in that 8 to 10 range right now. That's where I'm at.
Whew. For me, for a while there, at least like in the week that I saw it, and then we'll be doing a movie review next on Enola Holmes. It was kind of holding at number 10,
Hmm.
but then after just reorganizing things, it actually got knocked off to like I have like 11, 12 right now. What's above it, at least the first three things, is like I like the Bill and Ted threequel, Bill and
Hmm.
Ted Face the Music, like a lot more. I thought that was just more like cohesive and enjoyable. Enola Holmes, which we'll get to in another video. Um, yeah, it actually got knocked out of my top 10, but I mean, these things always change. I may rewatch it just now that I've gotten like that initial reaction out of the ways and I know what's happening. But
Hmm.
actually, right, yeah, it's right now it's like hovering like 11, 12, like it's right there, but it got knocked out. So
Yeah. All right. So that is our review of The Devil All the Time. Thank you guys for watching. We really appreciate it. Comment down below with what you thought of the movie. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, and we'll see you next time.